Hey guys, welcome back to Average Riders episode. And in this episode, I will be doing a long term review of my CBR300R. So, for any comprehensive review, you probably need to hit the the way the motorcycle rides, the overall finish. I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience in city driving and intercity driving. Uh, then issues I faced. Finally, I might cover you know the nitpicking on it, but a few things that I wish the motorcycle had, uh, but it can't give me. Anyways, with that, I'll get started on the ride of the motorcycle. Talking about the ride, it's a Honda, and I test drove the Kawasaki Ninja 300 and this motorcycle. Unfortunately, I couldn't test drive the R3. So between the dealerships, and I should also let um, give fact to the dealer. The Honda dealer was insanely good to deal with. I actually had my mind set on buying a Kawasaki, but um, half of it was how this bike rode at the lower RPMs, and the other half was the dealer that led me to the choice of the Honda 300R. And I ended up picking the one without ABS. I don't have ABS on this motorcycle. I've never had ABS in any of the motorcycles that I've owned, so I can't comment on that aspect of the motorcycles. I just did not grow up with ABS, and I don't think I care for it that much. I've ridden in all the conditions, and I just ride, normally and within my limits, and I've not had an issue. Anyways, with coming back to the ride, uh, this particular motorcycle rides so smooth that, especially in the city limits, right? I'm talking about 30 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour, and maybe 55. So 30, 45, and 55 are like the sweet spots for this motorcycle. You would be doing 5k, 6k RPM at those speeds, and it is so smooth, and almost feels like the engine is not running. It's that smooth and that quiet, and just does what you ask of it. And very very nice ride when it comes to those kind of speeds inside the city, commuting back and forth, doing quick errands, etc. That I would say is very very good. The second part of it comes to driving it on the highway. I will be shortly going on the highway, but I've done previous videos where I've shown that it's more than capable on the highway. I've owned this motorcycle for over a year now, and um, I I completely agree with what my initial thoughts were, that 300cc is more than enough for the highway. Um, the one caveat for that is if you're doing the speed limits, right? In most of the cities around the US, the speed limit is either 55, 65, in some places, 75. I think maybe in Texas or California, it's like even higher. Um, those are probably the outliers, but generic in the city, interstates, speeds, the motorcycle does perfectly well, no problem. Um, with respect to the comfort, I've done long rides on it, and my longest ride is probably 200 miles, and of course I took break at about 100 mile and did it fine. I've seen videos of people doing cross country on smaller motorcycles than this, so I don't think that is ever an issue. But from my opinion, the 200-mile journey, it did it like a champ, no problem. Comfort wise, the seat was very comfortable. There was no problem with my wrists. The height is perfect, and I really like the lean angle on this one. It gives you that nice sport bike feel. Not very committed like, say a super sport, but somewhere perfectly in the middle between standard and a super sport. You're not like really upright where the wind is hitting you square on, and the windshield does a pretty decent job. There is a little bit of buffeting in highway speeds when I'm going in highway, but nothing major. And the other amazing part is the turn-in of this bike. So you look and the motorcycle will turn. It is that responsive. It flicks like immediately, and the suspension. I'm 165 pounds, and the suspension I think is extremely well tuned for people between 150 to 200 pounds. If you're lower than 150, it's going to be even more tighter, but between 150 and 200 pounds, the suspension should handle you perfectly, no problem. And getting closer to 200, you might feel the lack of power, because of course the engine is just a 300. But yeah, in all honesty, power has never been an issue when it comes to keeping with the speed limit and keeping with the traffic. So let's say here in the city, if I wanted to keep with the traffic at around 65, everybody does 75 or even 80. If I wanted to keep up with those guys, I can, and I will get to the performance again when I'm talking about the negative points of this motorcycle. So we covered city driving, we covered the comfort. The fit and finish is immaculate. It's Honda, so I've not had a single bolt rattle on me. Everything is perfectly fit together. No issues there. I've even done the oil change myself, and after I put it back together, those bolts which I've unscrewed and put it back, they've not gone loose or anything. So from a fit perspective, Honda cannot be beat. So that's another reason that you might want to pick a Honda over the other motorcycles, because they're built phenomenally well. From the fuel consumption and running cost perspective, I would just be amazed if there is another motorcycle that gives you this much fun at the same time the amazing mileage that this guy does. I have got, my highest that I got was close to 80 miles a gallon, and that is great. I mean, you're filling a gas tank at what, $7-8 for filling up a gas tank fully, and it lasts you for a long time. You're hitting 200 miles before you even want to think about refilling, right? So that has been good, and running costs has been amazing. I have not had to spend a single dime on this motorcycle apart from doing the oil, which was regular maintenance, no fault, nothing. So coming now to the issues on the motorcycle, performance, I will pick on performance. Of course I'm being unfair to this because this bike is not in that price range, but now that I've owned it for a long time, I just wish it had a little bit more guts in terms of horsepower, because in my trips where I do go along, and as well as mostly my commutes to the work, it's a round trip of around 25-30 miles, and most of it is on the highway. And I do feel that when I'm on the highway and I'm actually keeping with traffic, it's not like I'm outrunning them. I'm keeping with the regular moving traffic and doing 80. And when I'm doing 80 or so, I'm at close to 8K in terms of 8.5, 9K sometimes at the rev range, and that's very close to red line. And revving it that close to rev line for a long time, it does get to you, and you feel like, man, there is nothing more for me if there is an emergency scenario coming in. So that might be the only thing I think of, but it's a champ. It's been great, and I've had super fun with it. The one thing that is grown on me is I did go test drive some 650s. So after a year of owning this, I'm actually contemplating on whether I have to move up, and I most likely will, because in my mind I do want that extra grunt, and I think 650s are the perfect spot. And in the 650s, drop me a note. I'm thinking of the Ninja, the Z650, the FZ7, the SV650, and of course the Honda's own CBR300R. So once I test drive everything, I might either trade this guy in for that one, I don't know. But until next time, hope you guys had an informative review. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye.